Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the next live podcast session here at the NAAEE conference. So exciting. My name is CJ Greco. I use they and she pronouns. And I am joined today by Kasey. You want to introduce yourself? I feel like you could do it way better than I could.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Kasey Gaylord-Opalewski, and I am the Associate Director of Programs at EarthEcho International. I am based in Southwest Florida, so Bradenton, Florida, to be exact, just south of Tampa.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so glad to be having this conversation with you, Kasey. I feel like this is the first time that you and I have met, so I feel like it's going to be a real genuine, like, first impressions type of deal. So I feel like I am a youth programs educator. You're a youth programs educator. Let's just talk about that for a little bit.
I love
Talk
it.
to me about like what it is, what it means for you to like work with young people in conservation and environmental education.
Yeah. This is a great question. And I do have to say, I'm speaking at another conference later this week. It's a local
Oh,
conference in
fantastic.
Sarasota, Florida.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I'm super stoked because I'm bringing in the youth aspect. And so this whole week with NAAEE going and that conference as well, like I'm just super excited to talk about the work that we do and the work that I've done for over 2 decades. I just feel, as I'm sure a lot of people here do, that it's super important to work with young people and not only educate them in, environmental education and policy and advocacy and what all those things, not only giving them the educational foundation of those things, but working with them as though there are no age barriers. So
Yeah,
really us as adults, yes, we have, a few more benefits than they do. We might know
sure.
different people than they do, but us kind of like giving them those foundations and then
Yeah,
just kind of stepping out of the way and letting them lead and giving them the confidence for them to lead and showing them that adults do trust them to
yeah,
lead and to do their own work and to forge, their own path forward. So like I said, I've worked in this space for over 2 decades and just think
yeah.
it's super important that if I'm not in a proper classroom, this is definitely, I know where I wanted to be in my career was working with you.
Yeah, same. So I was a young person when I was a teen. I worked volunteered at a zoo, and now as an
Okay.
adult, I'm the teen programs manager at Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago. So same sort of energy of like we're working to create these spaces, kind of mirroring this. I'm showing up authentically for the teens so they can show up authentically,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
know as environmental educators, the next generation are gonna be taking care of the planet,
Yeah.
right? Talk to me a little bit about Earth Echo. I feel like I don't know nearly enough.
Yeah. So, EarthEcho International, we're an environmental nonprofit founded 20 years ago by two siblings, Philippe and Alexandra Cousteau. They are the grandchildren of legendary ocean explorer Jacques Cousteau. If that name rings a bell, it
Yep,
lands with some people, it doesn't land with some younger people. But
sure.
Jacques Cousteau is a legendary ocean explorer who brought the ocean to people's living rooms back in the 60s. He was the first person to put a camera underwater, and he also is basically the foundational inventor of scuba. So if anybody
Yeah.
likes to breathe underwater, they can thank Jacques Cousteau. But my boss, Philippe Cousteau, is his grandson, and he and his sister founded our organization in honor of their grandfather, but also in honor of their father, Philippe Sr., and really founded EarthEcho International on the belief that youth have the power to change the planet. So, our mission here is to build a global youth movement to protect and restore our ocean planet. So, we do that basically in two different ways. One, we work with teachers and educators, the adults that are working with the young people, and that is the emphasis of my job, the focal point of my job. And then we also work with young people directly. So we have a variety of ambassador programs that young people can join. They
Yeah.
last anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depending on which program it is. And we also have an online community called Gen C for young people specifically,
I love.
ages 13 to 25. For lack of a better description, it is a non toxic social media that kind of looks like Facebook, and
Cool.
it is meant for young people who have an interest in the environment specifically. And they can connect with everybody, connect with their peers on that online platform. We have close to 3,000 members in over
Oh.
140 countries represented on Gen Z. So it is grown. We've only had it for 2 years, and it has grown beyond our wildest dreams. So
That's
pretty
so
exciting.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I saw that you were. I haven't watched your Bright Spot yet. It's on my list of things to
Okay.
do this week during the
Okay. I'm
conference.
kind of glad you didn't. Just a heads up.
Honestly, I didn't because I saw that I was interviewing you and I wanted to keep it very genuine.
Yes, I love it. That's
First
perfect.
impressions. I also had a bright spot. So I want to just, our two titles were very similar. So I want to
Okay.
compare the two, see how that feels for you. So just for everybody who's watching, Kasey and your team had Making Waves, Mobilizing Next Generation for Ocean Action. And the bright spot that I submitted with a coordinator of mine, Ezra Mulheim, is fostering future conservationists mentored research experience for high school students.
Love it.
So similar vibes of like
Yep.
working with young people, making a
Yep.
difference, fostering the next generation. Talk to me about what it means for you to like be a conservationist, be an environmental educator, and the world we're in now.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really good. It's interesting because, like I said, the emphasis of kind of my sector of our work is to work with teachers and
Yeah.
educators. And we've been recently approached by some organizations that typically don't create environmental education tools for teachers and educators. And in the current climate that we're living in right now, we've had some groups approach us and say, hey, we know you do a good job with us with this. Can you help us? And so we've been doing some of this work, and it's really interesting to kind of be pulled out of our normal everyday. We're rooted in working with young people every single day, working with teachers and educators, but then seeing the work that we do in environmental education from a different lens of folks that are maybe twice removed from those audiences and asking, is this appropriate to talk about in the classroom? Can teachers talk about climate change? Can they talk about environment? Can they talk about policy and advocacy? What are the right terms for us to use? So it's been a really interesting few months
Yeah.
in helping other organizations kind of create those environmental education resources, but
Yeah.
being asked those questions that I feel like we don't think about on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. And so I think it's really important for us to never forget, to
Yeah.
kind of like never forget where you come from, but
Yeah.
also don't be so in the mix in your work that you can't take a step back and out of your space for a little bit and just say, is this appropriate? Can they do this? What can we create? What can we do to help support teachers
Yeah.
and educators in those spaces in current times like this?
Yeah.
So I have found that really important. And then kind of the flip side for young people, and I'd be curious to know what you've been doing, CJ, but like, again, like, don't forget, we were that age once.
Yeah.
What does that feel like? What does it feel like simply just to be that age? But also, what does it mean? Like, I'm going to age myself here, but I grew up with no social media. Like, Facebook
Totally.
just started when I was in my 20s. And
Yeah.
so, like, that whole concept of these young people are growing up with a
Yeah.
device, with a phone all the time, and
Yep.
with everything at their fingertips, how can we create a scientific literate society
Yeah.
and meet them where they're at? So that was a
I
really
mean,
long
I think it's a never-ending answer, right? Like
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
never-ending process to solve.
Yeah.
We can work as environmental educators across a wide variety of fields and skill sets and facilities, doing all different sorts of things, but there's no, I don't think, one true answer,
Yeah.
right?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And I feel like it changes. I would say it changes by the day. These days, I feel like it changes by the minute
Yeah,
too.
minutes. Relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing I think with so much of the youth that we work with at Lincoln Park Zoo, we're thinking a lot about these teens. Again, I can't speak to where you're at, but our teens that we're working with are dealing with real life social issues
Yeah.
happening across the globe, but particularly here in Chicago.
Yeah.
And they're coming into our programs with these big feelings. And we're going to help them process those, even though it's not necessarily the goal of our
Yeah.
conservation-based program.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Meeting kids where they're at, it's such a important part of it all. how are you kind of talked about doing that for adults and educators,
Yeah,
meeting them where they're at, showing them how to kind of be that mirror for young people. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
sure. So one thing I'll talk about something new that we're working
Right.
on that I think is pretty exciting because again, we've been forced to kind of like just step outside of our norm and take a beat and talk to some of
Mm,
our trusted educators and teachers in the classroom and ask them, okay, we have this opportunity to create this environmental education resource. What can that look like for you? What should it look like for you? I
yeah.
feel like so many of us get trapped in
Mm,
kind of our habits of, well, this looks like a 5E lesson plan and it
right.
has to be this and it has to be this. And
Yeah.
so we had this opportunity and I will totally admit to you that it came in with less funding than what we were expecting. So we
Of
were like,
course.
okay, let's step back for a second. We can't do
Right.
what we would normally do. So, with a little bit of less funding, what does this look like? And so we came up with this idea of this might, maybe it's an email campaign, and the educational content is delivered once a month to their inbox. If they don't open it, it gets delivered again. What does that look like? Can that be feasible for teachers? And granted, you can click out of the content from the email and get to the traditional looking PDF
Right.
type of kind of lesson plan, if you would. But took that idea and have been working on it for the past few months and just thinking, okay, what does this look like? Is that too cumbersome? And talking to teachers, the teachers that we had talked to, we did a little survey, a little focus group, and they thought it was a great idea. They
That's
said, we
awesome.
do get busy though. We get busy and we sometimes don't pay attention to our email. And I said, okay, well, what if you have opted in for this educational campaign? You don't open the email. And so it reminds you 2 weeks later to go in and review it. And they're like, that's a
Right.
great idea. I
Yeah.
love that. And so, and I've even found myself as I'm developing the content in the traditional kind of PDF resource, wanting to go more, wanting to do more. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wait,
Right.
stop. Let's just pull back a second. Like, how can we make this content? It's something new. How can we make it digestible for
Yeah.
teachers? They're dealing with so much
It's overwhelming.
every day on the
Yeah.
day to day. Like, and again, like, even more so, these past few months, I feel
Mhm.
like they're being bombarded. I feel like ever since COVID, too, like all of a sudden people had this awakening of, oh my God, teachers are the greatest thing. And it's like, yes, yes, those of us
Right.
who work with them, we know. And
Literally.
it seems like that has been forgotten. And so, where can we support them? How can we meet them where they're at? Same thing
Yeah.
with the young.
It really seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it really seems like you're sort of bridging this gap between like formal and informal
Yeah,
education,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And that was my thought with it. I come from, I've worked in informal education
Yeah.
atmospheres my entire career, and worked at an aquarium, have worked at zoos, and now I'm here at EarthEcho International. And so thinking about, yes, we want to make sure we're aligned with standards and
Right.
things like that so that teachers can, validate why they're using this in the classroom,
Yeah.
why they're joining this virtual field trip, something like that. But also, again, can they just, maybe it would be easier for them to peek into our world, the informal education world, a
Sure.
little bit,
Yeah.
because, when we produce lesson plans, we
Yeah.
produce those for the
Of
teachers.
course.
Like,
Yeah.
yes, at our institutes, using kind of something like, again, the 5E technique, like
Right.
using that is always really great because you are meeting them where they're at. But maybe we just make it a little bit simpler. Like, yes, we align it to the standards. We give them options to go deeper, to scaffold up and down, things like that. But like, maybe instead of 3 activities, this is just 2.
Yeah.
And we can just all take a breath. And you don't have to do both. And you don't have to read chapter 1 to understand what chapter 3 is. So, really
Yes.
trying to create this new resource that we're working on, which will be coming out in January.
So
Really
exciting.
trying to create this in a different way to make it a little bit more approachable and not so that they feel like they have to invest so much time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, I have a lot of family members, I have a lot of friends who are formal educators,
Yeah.
and being in the informal education field, it can sometimes feel like, well, like I know what you're talking about, and they know what I'm talking about. We're just like approaching it from different angles. It can feel kind of like conflicting, even though we're saying the
Yeah.
same thing. We're
Absolutely.
just trained in different ways to
Yeah.
accomplish similar goals. What is something that, like, if you had like advice to give to either like young people or young educators, what kind of advice would you give to kind of help them continue to kind of bridge that gap? It's really important that we do in the future of
Yeah,
EE.
that is a great question. Stay relevant. I think
Yeah.
as much as we want to turn things off, I think it's really important for us to keep paying attention.
Yeah.
Um, and especially when it comes to adults working with young people, we have to pay attention. We have to understand what they have access to, what they're hearing and seeing for us to help support them. Um, for young people, this is interesting. I've just been thinking about this a lot. Like, technology is doing us such incredible, it's doing such incredible things. But
Yeah.
also, I'm starting to really kind of look at certain technologies, even certain social platforms
Yeah.
of
Like being
they're
critical.
really starting to do us a disservice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I encourage people to get outside, to get in the same physical room as
Yeah.
people, get out from behind your screen
Truly. As
and
we say on a
make,
screen.
yes, yes, and like
Yeah.
make those connections. Granted, CJ, listen, we're not in the same room. This is a great conversation to have, but
Strong
have
agree. But we're having a face-to-face conversation. It's
yes,
way more than just
exactly.
a click and
Like,
clack.
be your authentic self
Yeah.
and have put yourself in situations where you can have authentic engagements.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yay, Casey. I guess we have a bunch of time left. Do you have any questions for me?
Ooh, can you tell me more about what you do for work?
Totally, yeah. So I'm, like I mentioned, I'm the teen programs manager at Lincoln Park Zoo. So I oversee a lot of our programs that we have for young people. So we have programs where young people are out in the park interpreting to guests, kind of doing like mobile learning stations. We have a program like in my bright spot we highlight it is the research program where we bring teens in to work with our scientists to do research. And then during the school year, we have a program called the Conservation Ambassadors Board, which is running right now. And it's a program focused on advocacy. So young people kind of taking action on something that's important to them. So in past years, they've worked to plan conferences. They've planned like cleanup events. They've planned like sign up events. They've taught middle schoolers lessons. Um, they worked from like making a website for bird collisions because that was a big thing in Chicago a few years ago. This year, they're working with Polar Bears International, doing polar bear advocacy for sea ice.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
tons of really fun stuff those teens are doing all around advocacy.
I love it. How have we not talked before?
We should connect. That's what I'm hearing. That's the point of this.
I know. Too bad we aren't in person, but next year, next year.
Next year, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, NAAEE is pretty new to me. So last year I was recognized as one of the 2024 30 under 30.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. So being a young person myself, it's sometimes a little bit conflicting to be like young people, but I don't mean me.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm almost 30. It's not me anymore.
I love that. I love that. That is another good piece of advice is know when you advance to a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
section and be okay with it. It's
yeah. Jack,
okay. It's
Jack and I
okay.
were talking about that this morning because I was one of the first podcast sessions
Yeah.
today, and we're just like, we have hit the point where we're no longer the young people in the
Yep.
room.
Yep.
So definitely relate to that.
I love it. And that is another good piece of advice too is I think I said it kind of at the top, but like encouraging adults that work with
Yeah,
the young people, don't be afraid to step aside. Like,
totally. Yes.
step aside. Sometimes it just takes, my boss just said this to me the other day. Sometimes it just takes the people who might have the higher title
Yeah.
or kind of the authority in the
Right.
room just to get out of the way or step out of the room
Right.
altogether
Yeah.
and let things happen. And we at EarthEcho, we definitely do that. We try and really walk our walk and talk
Yeah.
our talk.
I
And
love that.
hopefully, those of you who are tuning into this might have an interest in either CJ or my bright spots or
Yeah.
both of them. But on our bright spot, what we wanted to do this year, and we're doing it more and more at conferences, is yes, again, the adults, we can kind of open the door, but then how do we open the door and step aside and let them come in with us? And so for my bright spot, I have three young ladies that have been part of our programs, and they tell their own stories in the bright spot. So we all kind of recorded what their different stories were. And that's what our presentation is all about. And so it's not about kind of pitching our programs. We have the water challenge, we have a STEM contest, we have this.
Yeah.
It's just about, let's set the foundation. This is who EarthEcho is. This is our mission. And then here are 3 authentic stories from young people that have been through one or,
Yeah.
3 of our programs. And so they tell their own
Totally.
story. And so we just find that it's so important just to, again, kind of, yes, open that door, but then either hold it open or just simply step out.
Yeah, amazing. We have a question in the chat, so I think I'm going to go to that and then we'll do our little wrap up. That's
Okay,
kind of fun.
that's fun.
The question in the chat is, how do you think about mentorship in relationships to your roles? This question is for both of us and in relation to either learners or to colleagues.
That is a really good.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. It doesn't tell me your name, but thank you.
Wow. Do you have an answer?
I think the one thing that I think about with this is I'm now in a role where I am like leading a team of adults, and that's a little bit different than leading just
Right.
young people.
Yeah.
And for me, in my role, I'm really able to find opportunities for my team to grow, which in turn gets those opportunities for the young people to learn more, to do more, to see more. So it's really just a different scope of
Yeah.
being a mentor in my position, where my level of mentorship is kind of a bigger umbrella and their level of mentorship is a bigger umbrella. And we just kind of
Sure.
all kind of impact young people at just different levels.
Sure.
I work with teens a little bit less, but I still like write letters of recommendation because I see them so
Yes.
much. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I love that. And I think also, again, it's super important, no matter who, say somebody reaches out and say, I would like
Yeah.
advice, or it's a young person in our programs,
Yeah.
taking the time to have, again, that authentic conversation
Right.
of who are you? Tell me your story. And that, like, every time if I set up a meeting, like say a teacher reaches out and say, hey, I really love what you do. Can we talk a little bit more of how I can integrate EarthEcho's
Yeah.
programs into my teaching? Absolutely. Let's actually set aside 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and let's connect. If there's someplace I can drive to, I'm like, can I take you out for
Let's do it. Yeah.
So having those conversations and, again, meeting people where they are and listening to them. What is their story? What is
Right.
their day to day? What are their needs? How can we support? So rather than spewing off kind of all the menu of programs that we have
Right.
and how they can get involved, how
Literally.
can we get involved and help support you? So I always really love kind of just letting those meetings happen and just say, tell me about yourself and tell me
Yeah.
about what you do. So then I can tailor and weave in, well, this is what we can do with you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that, Kasey.
That was a great
We have
question.
just a few minutes left, so I want to give some time for you to plug the things you want to plug. If there's people you want to thank, anything you want to do before we wrap it up.
Well, that sounds good. Well, I want to thank NAAEE. This is
Same.
such a fun thing to do. So
Yeah.
super stoked that you all invited me to be on the podcast today. So thank you. CJ, I want to thank you, and Jack, who's in the behind the scenes. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Check out my bright spot with EarthEcho International. I know CJ said it, but it's called Mobilizing the Next Generation, or it starts with Making Waves, mobilizing the next generation for ocean action. And yeah, just reach out. Anybody, my contact information is on the bright spot. There's a QR code that teachers and educators can scan to become part of our global educator echo community.
Amazing.
We send out a newsletter once a month, and I love to stay in touch authentically with everybody that we work with.
Authentically being the key.
Authentically.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Amazing. Well, again, thank you to NAAEE for giving both of us this amazing opportunity. You can reach out to me. My information is also in my bright spot, fostering future conservationists. I love alliteration. I still mess it up. This has been so fun and wonderful. I appreciate this conversation. Kasey, let's like connect in real life. I would love to have a conversation off of this.
Please. Let's do it. I love
amazing.
it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great conference, everyone.
Catch you next time.